just 2 weeks ago, when we spoke to Richard Matheny, the Director of Health in the Quinnipiac Valley Health District, we spoke of the 2 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Connecticut. Since then, that number has increased into the hundreds in our state. As a nation, we are just beginning to see the implications of this contagion. We've brought on Mayor Elinor Carbone of Torrington to discuss the very local aspects of this virus and how local government is responding. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway and Housatonic Community Colleges. The Municipal Voice is a Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. Today we're speaking with Mayor Carbone of Torrington. Thanks for being here today.
What a pleasure to be able to join you.
Well, thanks. There's no other topics on anybody's mind right now other than coronavirus, I think, and the ramifications. It's having an everyday thing from stock market to local politics. That's what we want to get into today. So first of all, how is Torrington doing?
You know, we're holding up under the circumstances. You know, I'm tremendously grateful for the support of our emergency management team. And of course, all the guidance that the governor has been providing makes it a little bit easier to communicate what we need to do with our public. So, you know, we're okay under the circumstances.
Yeah. How has communication with the state government, with the governor been? Have they been good?
Tremendous. Yeah. I'm grateful, as I say, for the constant communication, the conference calls, the pushing out the information through DECD, the Department of Public Health. It really has been tremendous. Yeah.
And I know what Richard Matheny told us is that we should all be getting information from trusted and credible sources.
Correct.
Naming local leaders as one of those resources. So what sort of messaging has Torrington been pushing out to the community?
We've been doing just that. We were looking for those reliable, verifiable sources. Obviously, CDC being the first very easy to read, user-friendly source for the public. And all of our state agencies, you know, from the governor, from DECD, the Connecticut Department of Health, and even right down to the Department of Housing in dealing with some of these issues.
Have you been dealing with some of the local health departments, the health districts? Have they been a big part of that too?
Yeah, so our emergency management team consists of my office, our emergency management director, which is our fire chief, Peter Cowie, Torrington Area Health. We have a seat at the table with Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, which is a Hartford Hospital, Hartford Healthcare affiliate, and of course our regional representation. So those are meetings that we have on a regular basis.
All right. Some municipalities have weighed in on the idea of using shelter-in-place orders as a last resort. Has that possibility been brought up in your discussions if this continues to go on? As it seems like it might be?
Absolutely. As we have these meetings and we've established daily meetings where we're discussing, you know, what do we need to implement out of our local emergency operations plan today, and what do we see on the horizon that may need to be implemented, you know, 2 days from now or a week from now. So everything is on the table for discussion, preparing, being prepared, and actually hoping for the best.
So I think one of the first major things that happened that kind of brought this pandemic, you know, closer to home was when the governor declared the state of emergency. And I know that you've declared a state of emergency in Torrington.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly? And how does that empower you? What does that let you do?
So primarily, the urgency for us to declare this state of emergency is obviously we want to recapture any of the resources that we're expending in response to the COVID virus. Everything from our time to any acquisitions that we have to have, particularly IT support, to meet the demands of e-meetings, to prepare for potential for teleworking with our departments. And the tremendous human resources. Every meeting is a department head, actually 6 to 10 department heads sitting around a table, and all of that is taxpayers' dollars. We'd be looking for reimbursement if we can.
I would hope so, yeah. You mentioned teleworking and some of these other steps. You know, towns I think are all right now learning scrambling to figure out how to do meetings and all this other kind of stuff. How are you responding to the needs to shut things down but keep things going?
That is such a strong part of my messaging, because I feel it's really imperative that as a mayor or a selectman or CEO of your municipality, you really want to exhibit a sense of calm. Everything is under control. We are prepared for this.
Yeah.
So teleworking, obviously, if there's a need, department by department, we're doing a COOP, a continuation of operations plan. What would we need to do to respond to an illness within the department, or if the larger edict should come down from the governor or the president, you know, if we have to do a shutdown. So those are the components, you know, starting with the easy things, the e-meetings, making sure that our council members, our Board of Finance, which is in the middle of budget deliberation, are prepared to be able to continue their function electronically.
Now, has the state given you more time on the budgets? Was that something that
they have? Yes.
Yeah.
Early in the stages, the governor recognized that this was probably the worst time for a municipality to have to respond to a pandemic. And there is an extension of 30 days beyond what our charter requires us to do. And we had always hoped that we were going to maintain our timeline, but now that we are expending resources, we have to really start to think about how will that impact any decisions that get made in that process.
Great. So, you know, a lot of telecommuting going on and stuff, but there's also employees at the municipal level that simply can't do that. EMS, fire, police. They have still jobs to do that can't be done remotely. What kind of provisions and things are you setting up there? Are you working with the chief of police? What's going on?
As a part of our emergency management team, it's both our police chief, Bill Baldwin, and fire chief, Peter Towie. So they're absolutely at the table. Every decision that we make is bounced by them, just to make sure that any impact we may unintendedly inflict on them, they're prepared for.
So we've talked about the state and working together with local districts, but also Torrington is a little bit of a larger municipality surrounded by a lot of smaller Litchfield County sort of towns. And I'm assuming that a lot of them would come into Torrington for like the hospital and that sort of stuff. Have you been coordinating with other local first selectmen and mayors?
We have, through our Council of Government, have continued conversations just so that we're all on the same page. As one selectman in the area makes a decision to declare a state of emergency, it's run by all of us. As we make decisions with regard to public access to our municipal buildings, all of those are being coordinated or certainly bounced off of each other to see where we can act.
I think it's important, You know, it's town-to-town consistency. If you shut down things in one town but not in the next town, it was just going to hop across the border or things like that.
You know, always a concern. You know, as the urban center, that I think would impact the city of Torrington less, because we are that center that does have all those health services, all of those social services, shopping. So we're accustomed to being that urban hub. But obviously, any decisions we make or the governor should make in an executive order, we want to make sure that the residents of those surrounding towns are also aware that this will probably impact their plans.
Definitely. So obviously, safety is at the top of everyone's list, keeping everyone safe and healthy as much as possible and being able to deal with this situation. But we're just starting to kind of see how that's going to be hitting everybody. There's debates on whether the federal government should be doing economic stimulus, all that kind of stuff. But how is Torrington handling the financial implications so far? Is it changing your thoughts about budgeting? Have you even started to tackle some of that? Or
we have started those conversations. My economic development director and I have been able to participate in a number of the state webinars with advice. We keep getting information regarding the various legislation that's been enacted on the federal level and on the local level preparing all the documents that we think will be helpful to the small businesses. For the most part, the city of Torrington is built on the backs of our small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So reaching out to them in a planful way, not waiting for them to try to come to us to seek answers, but pushing the information to them has been our strategy.
And have you gotten a lot of good cooperation from the business community?
You know, this is being done in partnership with our Northwest Connecticut Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
We've decided jointly with the Chamber that not everybody is thinking about visiting a website at the Chamber or at the City of Torrington. So we will be doing mass mailings to push this information out. We really need for them to know that we're here and that they're as much of a concern for us as this health crisis. And in part,
And would that be like in the mail? You thinking like some sort of get the information out?
Yes.
Every door direct, sort of something like that.
Correct. Yeah, that is exactly the strategy that we will be implementing.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, you put a document together thinking, all right, I think we have all the information that will at least start the conversation with our businesses. You know, and then you hear there's more, you know.
Yeah,
so,
everything's changing so fast. It's kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah, so it's tough to decide when to pull that plug. But I think our businesses need to hear from us sooner than later.
Yeah.
And even if it's, you know, just the beginning of the information, at least it affords them a contact so that they can pick up the phone and call or email us. So
I think that's an important role for local government to be playing.
Without a doubt. Yes.
So bad news, we're all going nuts right now. Got anything good going on in town? Something that gave you hope, a good story? What's happening in Torrington that's hopeful?
You know, I am tremendously uplifted by our community. I've always said this about the city of Torrington. We are big enough to have the big city problems, but small enough to know each other and care for each other. So I'm always encouraged when I hear that our restaurants who are struggling still manage to deliver pizzas and salad and meals to our hospital.
Yep.
So those are the great stories. And then of course our hardworking staff and employees that are showing up here, even though they are as anxious about this medical crisis as anybody in the community. And yet they show up to work for us. They're putting in a full day and they're doing everything that they can to send that message that things are to some degree as normal as they can be. Yeah. I'm tremendously grateful for that.
Well, excellent. What are you doing personally to keep yourself, you know, sane and balanced?
This is one of those times where, all of that balance is somewhat out the window. I find myself, you know, texting and emailing with our HR director at midnight, you know, our emergency management director all weekend. It was every couple of hours we were checking in and bringing each other up.
So there's been no downtime for the mayor yet to get stir crazy.
For any of us. Yes. Yeah. But of course, you know, a little bit of a sense of humor helps, you know, finding that little levity in a meeting that's quite tense because you're making some life changing decisions when it comes to the economic impact. And of course, making decisions with regard to things such as FMLA or sick time, you know, and the impact that has on the staff. So I'm grateful. There's a little bit of levity in our meetings that reminds us that we're working together and we're going to get through this. And I don't mind saying that it is also important for us to maintain an eye on what did we start that we need to continue. That sets the stage for that economic growth. You know, we have road construction projects that are critical. Again, I think sending a message to our public that that we are still moving forward as a community. Doing some streetscape improvements. So those messages that I think remind the public that we're going to be okay.
We're going to get through this. And some of the talking about the construction and those projects, a lot of those, because they're working outdoors and they're not in close proximity, the governor is saying those kind of projects can keep going.
Yes.
Because they're big and they can't be stopped. And comparatively, it's a little bit less high risk.
And I say yes with a tremendous amount of gratitude.
Yeah.
I think that the concern, of course, with so many people is if they are laid off temporarily or their hours are reduced, those are the kinds of jobs that do provide a family some stability and sustainability. So I'm grateful that there's a recognition that those are still critical functions that are feeding families.
All right. Is there anything at the state level you're looking for from the legislature? Anything that you think they need to act on that they could make your job easier and facilitate getting everything done that needs to get done right now?
There are, obviously, any early indication from the legislature of what budgetary impact this may have for the municipalities. Will there be additional revenues that can be afforded to a municipality? Especially because we'd like to be able to provide our community with some relief, and if there's a way for us to do that during the budget process, it would be tremendously helpful on so many levels. But obviously, our eye is on the matter before us. The health and well-being of our communities, our states, really is critical. So I'm comfortable with where they are and what they need to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mayor Carbone, thanks so much for talking to us today, and hopefully we'll be checking in and talking to other people around the state. And thank you so much, and stay safe.
I appreciate the work that you're doing here.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Bye now.
Bye.
What is the 2020 census? Every 10 years, the census records everyone living in this country. It's written in the Constitution. And it comes in a questionnaire that counts everyone who lives at your address on April 1st. The data can be used to inform funding for services like fire stations, schools, clinics, and representation that affect your community. How will the 2020 census data be used? Where there are more people, there are more needs for public services. That's why the census is used by the government to inform funding decisions each year. But that's not all. It's also used by nonprofits to inform services, by businesses to create jobs, and even by students for school projects. Understanding how the population changes helps us shape the communities across Connecticut for the better. How does the 2020 census affect representation? There are 435 seats in the House of Representatives. These get distributed to the 50 states by population, and Connecticut currently has 5 seats. States with smaller populations get at least 1, while states with larger populations might get more. How do I take the 2020 census? In March 2020, every address in Connecticut will receive an invitation to complete a simple questionnaire. And there are 3 ways to respond. Number 1, do it online. Number 2, call by phone. Number 3, send it by mail. For those who don't respond, a census taker from your community will follow up and assist you. Is my 2020 census data safe? After sending your census response, your personal data is kept safe. By law, it can't be shared with any other government agency, law enforcement, or landlord. So take your 2020 census with peace of mind and help shape the future of Connecticut. Learn more at 2020census.gov.